Cinema has a long-standing love affair with the summer. Summer films have a magical way of feeling both slow and boring, but also life-changing and spectacular. The backdrop of this time of year offers the opportunity to embody the escapist and nostalgic nature of film. Filmmakers take advantage of this to create narratives which catapult protagonists out of their humdrum lives and into a world of new opportunities, self-actualization, and newfound happiness, usually in a way which feels reminiscent of the audience's rose-tinted summer memories. Call Me By Your Name is no stranger to this, as it has given us a taste of the summer we all remember. Long, uneventful, and repetitive, but with an unparalleled sense of freedom, the opportunity to lose track of time and breathe in the moments we would typically race by. So, what is it about this film which really makes it feel like summer? Call Me By Your Name relies heavily upon editing to create a visual style which emulates the slow and serene feeling of summertime. The film feels as if it's being told retrospectively, as a compilation of nostalgic memories on replay. This is quite powerful, as summer is only as real as we imagine it to be in our minds. These are memories which encapsulate the essence of our childhoods, or the thrilling feeling of falling in love for the first time. It is a destination to be revisited time and time again, a magical place defined by a sense of unrivaled freedom, long days, and near unbearably hot nights. Call Me By Your Name is invested in the memory of summer. It may seem as if we're watching a love story unfold before our eyes, but we're actually watching a memory being recalled. Perhaps the clearest example of this is within the abrupt editing style. So, what purpose does it serve to transition so abruptly from one scene to another? Well, according to the editor Walter Facino, the abrupt endings remind you of the way you remember things, where your recollection could stop immediately. The film has been crafted to resemble a collection of carefully curated memories, following the style of the memoir on which the film is based. This style of editing allows the film to slow down and concentrate on elements which would usually be seen as unnecessary. It is a summer which is burnt into Elio's memory. A small gesture, a quick glance. When Elio looks back on that summer of love, this is what he remembers. And, as with most of our memories, it is the feelings which stick in our minds. The feeling of the breeze on our sweaty skin, the trickling sound of water, the thrill of a first kiss. Call Me By Your Name is not afraid to lose track of time and pay attention to these moments. This slow-moving and yet always moving emptiness is reminiscent of Studio Ghibli films. Hayao Miyazaki understood the power of emptiness. In an interview, Miyazaki discusses the importance of pausing in cinema. If you just have non-stop action with no breathing space at all, it's just busyness. But if you take a moment, then the tension building in the film can grow into a wider dimension. If you just have constant tension at 80 degrees all the time, the audience will just get numb. Boredom is a shared experience that we can all relate to. And this movie is not afraid to sit and hold us in that ongoing wait for excitement or something significant to occur.
So what does one do around here?
Wait for the summer to end.
This brings us closer to the reality of the situation, allowing us to live the experience. Call Me By Your Name wants us to lose track of time, give in to the atmosphere, and enjoy the moments. But this is not just achieved through cutting after a few seconds. Facino understood that pacing was incredibly important. Pacing is used to encapsulate the slow, mostly uneventful nature of the season. Summer is when things typically slow down. Days become longer, nights shorter, and the heat becomes an inescapable drug which allows us to take a moment to pause, to take in what's around us, rather than worrying about where we need to be or what we need to be doing. Summer offers a break from the norm, the time of year where we are allowed to take a bit longer, to smell the flowers and indulge ourselves. A good measure of how energetic a movie feels is the average shot length. The average length of a shot in the 1930s was about 12 seconds, but cinema has evolved with a downward trend, and for a modern film, this number has fallen to 4 seconds on average per shot. Compare this statistic to Call Me By Your Name. The average shot length is 12.8 seconds. This is 4 times longer, with some shots even spanning for a staggering 269 seconds, or 4 minutes and 48 seconds. This is done to make us feel as if we are there in the moment with the characters, spending the summer with them, enjoying the ups and downs as well as enduring the silence and nothingness, which has become a well-known staple of any summertime break. Speaking of being in the moment, sound design also plays a big role in really making this film feel like summer. The film is filled with ambient noises, particularly the sound of cars, radios, cicadas, wind and water. These sounds all come together to remind you that you're in the countryside. These are sounds which would typically be drowned out in a city, but together sound like a summertime symphony. Although, more than reminding us of the setting, the ambient sound complements the editing style and helps us feel as if we are there with Elio and his family. The ambient sound manipulates our senses to emulate what we would hear if we were really with them in northern Italy. By using these immersive noises, the film is unlocking audiences' individual memories of summer, and it's sculpting a visceral experience of the settings by creating atmospheric sensations. Summertime is not just being delivered through what we can see, but also through what we can hear. Just as sound was used to indicate setting, music was also used to reflect the time period. The director, Luca Guadagnino, spent a long time trying to get the music just right. Guadagnino says that they methodically researched the then contemporary music that's heard in the movie. We started to think about how radios in that particular region of Italy would have programmed pieces of music, at what time of day the songs would have been played. So, I can tell you that the music you hear coming from the radio, and the music that the kids listen to, and the music from the discotheque, it's very precise. Music worked so well at painting the scene of this 1980s summer because it was the music people would have been listening to. It encapsulates the sound of the 80s and unearths old and forgotten memories for those who lived through those hot 80s summers. It is used not only to be true to the time period, but to also help transport audiences into the mind and feel of where Elio is. Music from each decade is so distinct and sends a very clear message about the culture of the time, representing social ideologies, technological advancements, as well as acting as a representation of the music which came before and after it. Without the inclusion of time-specific music, this film would not have felt like it truly was from a 1980s summer. The weather becomes a reflection of Elio's romance. Pathetic fallacy is employed to visualize the dramatic high and lows of Elio's relationship. The summertime that we see on screen is arguably only so perfect and beautiful because it represents the happiness Elio feels about his budding romance. This majorly juxtaposes the end of the film when Elio speaks to Oliver and hears that he is engaged to be married. This final scene takes place in the dead of winter. The garden that they had only moments ago been sunbathing in was now covered in snow, and the luscious trees had lost all their fruit. One way to view this is as a symbolic death of the relationship, but it could also be seen as the end of one cycle and start of the next. The seasons and characters' experience of them plays an astonishingly large role in the film. So much so that even the narrative structure seems secondary to the character's experience of summer. This is not to say that there is no structure, but it is blurred, hidden under something more abstract and hard to define. We are taught to expect certain structures and progressions from the art we are surrounded by. Music has verses and choruses, books have a beginning, middle and end, and so it comes as no surprise that films have their own rules and expected guidelines. As moviegoers, we are equipped with the tools which allow us to read films. The 3-act structure, the hero's journey, these are the usual blueprints for what to expect. Call Me By Your Name subverts these expectations because it does not follow these guidelines, and this makes the plot a lot harder to predict. Audiences are made to feel on edge, waiting for a battle or conflict, anything that would throw a spanner into the works, but it never does. In fact, very little actually happens. Sure, we see bike rides, family dinners, and 2 people fall in love, but our attention isn't really on what's happening. Instead, we're told to pay attention to the shy glances across a room, the sound of skin sizzling in the summer, the sweet enjoyment of the occasional peach. It is the small details in between the moments which are the most significant. These details add to the loose, unplanned atmosphere of summer days. These characters do not have plans, they go with the flow to see what will happen, because they are okay with nothingness and boredom. Call Me By Your Name created a summer that we all wish we had, full of love, dancing, and nothingness. So, what are some of your favourite summer films?